Are you one of the millions of college graduates around the world struggling to find a job?
An incredible number of young Chinese people will be graduating this summer, some 12.7 million.
Plus 10 million in India.
Especially for people who are doing liberal arts and humanities, the job market is dying.
Some economists say it's the worst time in history to be graduating, at least in the countries hardest hit by an unfortunate confluence of events. That is, record numbers of young people graduating from university at the same time that entry-level jobs are disappearing en masse.
Artificial intelligence is making it really hard for young entrants because it competes for pretty much the same skill set that comes out of academic education.
Andreas Schleicher is from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development.
I mean, it's a pretty universal problem, and it's also due to changes in our economies, changes in our labor markets.
India is one of the hardest hit countries right now. As the country's economy grew rapidly over the past 3 decades, a college degree became as close as you could get to the promise of a good job and a good future. For many young people, that promise has now been broken.
I am anxious, and people around me also anxious about their future prospect.
Very worried. I've just completed my master's, and I am interacting with seniors who are doing PhD, and they are half of them are dropping out of PhD because they don't see a future, and there is no future of jobs, even for PhD people, and let alone masters.
Definitely, unemployment does discourages young people going to the universities. I have friends who are like not willing to go to the universities, and the university cost of university is going higher and higher, and they are thinking to open the tea stalls. They are thinking that it will be a profitable thing than to study, and then getting a job, because it is not easy to get a job.
Protests erupted in India this summer over a scandal involving college entry exams. Many of the young protesters were angry that competition among students has become so fierce and, in their eyes, unfair. In China, the prospects might be just as bad for this year's graduating class, which is larger than the population of Belgium, and all of them looking for jobs.
And that's an increase of 4% from last year, but they'll be looking at less attractive job prospects than the classes before them. China's economy is not growing as fast as it was. Youth unemployment in general is pretty high at the moment. And like many places in the world, AI and other technologies will be taking a lot of those entry-level jobs.
Rick Glauert is DW's Southeast Asia correspondent. He's observed an interesting trend among China's new class of unemployed graduates.
And there's even like an industry in China that has sprung up on this pretending to work trend, where young people will go to these kind of, I suppose they're co-working spaces where they can meet with other graduates or other people looking for work. They can apply for jobs, they get their laptop out, they might get some food and drinks, but it is actually just, they are unemployed. Of course, China's government is keen to resolve this problem. China's been tinkering with what higher education looks like, trying to have more degrees that are kind of relevant to the demands of China's economy in high technologies and that sort of thing, and less in humanities.
It's a similar story around the world. No country has been left untouched by rapid changes in technology that have made it possible for one educated person to do the job that several used to do. But there's a paradox. While some jobs are disappearing, many are going unfilled.
In many countries, we just have a lot fewer younger people, and there is clear labor demand. Employers talk about a lot of skill shortages.
Here in Germany, the Association of Engineers says the number of unemployed engineering and IT professionals reached 60,000 last year, the highest number since it began tracking data. But at the same time, the German government has estimated that the country will need up to 400,000 more workers annually to fill its labor shortage. So why is there a gap between graduates and opportunities? And what should job hunters be doing about it?
We see actually a growing mismatch. The many young university graduates having difficulties finding a good job, while employers tell you they cannot find the people with the skills that we need. So I think the future is not bleak for young people, but you have to be a lot more open, a lot more willing to adopt new kinds of ways of working and skills doing your work than that was the case in the past. I mean, we generally see a rise in vocational education and training. If you look at employment, is often better for young people who complete vocational programs.
Vocational learning means on-the-job training in practical trades like carpentry and construction.
Now, this is again an advantage of more applied routes, vocational routes, because there you learn a broader range of skills that are harder for AI to emulate. Now, that does not necessarily translate into earnings. One has to be honest about it. You know, you don't often earn a great salary from a vocational program, but clearly it gives you a more direct and immediate route into the labor market, and more and more young people actually are choosing.
And alongside vocational training, Andreas Schleicher is seeing another interesting trend: the rise of micro-credentials.
You see young people pursuing micro-credentials, now small kind of increments of degrees rather than lumpy, long academic qualifications. You see employers, like look at the tech industry, skills first hiring practices. Now, they actually look at what you can do, how creative you are, how much value you can add, and then, the degree is more like an afterthought.
So is university still the route to a good job? If you're confused, don't worry, so are the experts. Even Andreas Schleicher says he's not sure if he would now choose to pursue a degree or learn on the job.
I actually do not know. It's a really good question. For me, it was not something I really thought about. I had the academic qualification. I went to university. In today's labor market, I think you can find a great entry into the labor market very quickly, and then you learn a lot. Great places of work are now great places of learning, particularly if you work, in technology-intensive jobs. There's a lot you can learn on the job. Upskilling and reskilling become relevant. And I would, try to do whatever I can to get real-world experience. Now, also that adaptability. I think the most important skill today is not something that we can, code into words, but it's your openness and willingness to sort of learn new things, to adapt new ways of thinking.
So how do you see things changing in your country or your career? And what advice would you give people considering their options?